In the quiet town of Ellsville, Mississippi, where secrets fester behind closed doors, three men thought they could terrorize single mother Latoya Evans into submission through a night of relentless torment in her own home. But as dawn broke on that fateful morning in April 2023, Latoya, a woman hardened by years of survival, turned the tables with lethal precision, ending their lives in a shocking act of self-defense that exposed their criminal past and sparked a national debate on justice and survival. Latoya Evans was 32, a black single mother of two, raising her daughters, Keisha, 10, and Amara, 7, in a modest ranch-style house on the edge of Ellsville. A nurse at the local hospital, Latoya had grown up in poverty, her childhood marked by an abusive stepfather and a mother who worked 3 jobs. She escaped that life through sheer determination, earning a nursing degree while pregnant with Keisha. By 2023, she was known in the community for her quiet strength, volunteering at a women's shelter and teaching her girls to stand tall despite the town's undercurrents of prejudice. The 3 men, Travis Boone, 29, Caleb Dunn, 27, and Ryan Kessler, 30, were no strangers to Ellsville's darker side. Boone, a former high school football star turned meth dealer, had a rap sheet stretching back a decade: theft, assault, drug possession. Dunn, his cousin, worked odd jobs but was Boone's muscle, intimidating anyone who crossed their path. Kessler, a mechanic with a heroin habit, had joined their circle after a stint in county jail. The trio ran a small drug operation, peddling meth and pills, often targeting vulnerable residents. Latoya's refusal to let them use her property as a stash house had made her a target. It started with intimidation. For weeks, Boone's crew harassed Latoya, slashed tires, threatening notes slipped under her door, late-night calls with heavy breathing. She reported it to the Ellsville police, but responses were sluggish. The department, understaffed and grappling with its own scandals, dismissed her complaints as petty. Latoya, no stranger to handling her own problems, installed a security camera and kept a license .38 revolver in her nightstand, a precaution after years of working night shifts in rough neighborhoods. On the night of April 12, 2023, the harassment escalated to a home invasion. Boone, Dunn, and Kessler, high on their own supply, broke into Latoya's house around 11 p.m. while her daughters slept in neighbors for a sleepover. They planned to scare her into compliance, believing she'd crack under pressure. For hours, they tormented her, taunting her with racial slurs, trashing her living room, holding a knife to her throat, and demanding she sign over a property deed for their use. Latoya endured, her fear tempered by a resolve to protect her home and girls. She played along, feigning submission, asking for water to buy time. As the night wore on, the men grew careless, their intoxication dulling their senses. Latoya, trained in de-escalation from her nursing work, kept them talking, noting their weapons: Boone's knife, Dunn's crowbar, Kessler's pistol tucked loosely in his waistband. She memorized their movements, waiting for an opening. Around 4 a.m., Dunn passed out on the couch, and Kessler nodded off in a chair. Boone, still wired, was pacing, but his guard was down. Latoya saw her moment. She asked to use the bathroom, and Boone, distracted, agreed. Inside, she retrieved her revolver, hidden in a lockbox under the sink, a precaution she'd taken after the threats began. Moving silently, she returned to the living room. Boone lunged when he saw the gun, but Latoya, with steady hands honed by years of medical precision, fired twice, hitting him in the chest. Kessler stirred, reaching for his pistol, but she shot him before he could aim. Dunn woke, swinging the crowbar, but Latoya's third shot stopped him cold. By 5:17 a.m., as dawn crept over the horizon, all 3 men were dead. Latoya called 911 immediately, her voice calm but trembling, reporting the invasion and her actions. Police arrived to find her sitting on her porch, gun on the ground, hands raised. The scene was chaotic. Neighbors gathered, drawn by the shots, and news vans soon followed. Officers took Latoya into custody for questioning, standard procedure in a triple homicide, but her security camera footage, which captured the break-in and hours of torment, told a clear story of self-defense. The investigation unfolded swiftly. Boone, Dunn, and Kessler were known to police. Their fingerprints tied them to unsolved burglaries and a recent assault on another single mother. Autopsies confirmed meth and alcohol in their systems, corroborating LaToya's account of their erratic behavior. Her revolver was legally registered, and ballistics matched her story. 3 shots, all at close range, consisted with a desperate fight for survival. The district attorney, Claire Hodges, reviewed the evidence and declined to press charges within 48 hours, citing Mississippi's Stand Your Ground law and clear self-defense. But the story didn't end there. LaToya's case became a lightning rod. Local media dubbed her the Dawn Defender, and national outlets picked it up, framing it as a tale of empowerment. On social media, particularly X, reactions were polarized. Supporters hailed her as a hero, a black woman who refused to be a victim. Hashtags like #LatoyaStrong trended with thousands of posts. Critics, including some local officials, questioned her lethal response, suggesting she could have fled or negotiated. Others, with thinly veiled racism, painted her as a vigilante, ignoring the footage. The men's families added fuel. Boone's mother claimed he was turning his life around, despite his recent arrest for drug trafficking. Kessler's sister, a vocal critic, filed a wrongful death suit, alleging LaToya lured them to her home, a claim dismissed when the footage aired publicly. Dunn's estranged wife stayed silent, but his criminal ties to a regional meth ring surfaced, implicating others. LaToya faced immense pressure. Her daughters, back home, struggled with nightmares, and Keisha asked why bad men targeted them. LaToya sought counseling for them, paid for by a community fund started by her church. She took leave from work, her hospital shift replaced by therapy and meetings with her lawyer, Denise Powell, a seasoned defense attorney who'd handled similar cases. Powell ensured the narrative stayed focused on self-defense, countering smears with evidence. The broader context of Ellsville shaped the story. A town of 15,000, it had a history of racial divides. Black residents, about 40% of the population, often felt marginalized by local institutions. The police department had faced scrutiny after a 2021 incident where an officer shot an unarmed black teen. Protests followed, and trust remained low. LaToya's case reignited those tensions, with activists demanding accountability for why her earlier complaints were ignored. Investigators dug deeper into the trio's criminal network. Boone had been under surveillance by the DEA for months, linked to a cartel pipeline from Jackson. Dunn and Kessler were foot soldiers, but their deaths led to tips that cracked open a larger case. By June 2023, 6 associates were arrested and a stash house was raided, seizing 20 pounds of meth. LaToya's ordeal inadvertently disrupted a regional drug ring. She didn't seek the spotlight but spoke at a town hall in July, urged by her pastor. "I did what any mother would do," she said, voice steady. The crowd, mixed but mostly supportive, gave her a standing ovation. The women's shelter where she volunteered named a wing after her, funded by donations that poured in after her story aired on CNN. Legal fallout continued. The wrongful death suit collapsed in court, but Kessler's sister took to X, accusing the system of bias against white victims. Counterposts highlighted the men's records, drowning out her claims. LaToya's lawyer filed a civil suit against the police for failing to act on her earlier reports, seeking damages for emotional distress. In 2024, the department settled for $200,000, and the chief issued a public apology, admitting systemic failures. LaToya's life slowly stabilized. She returned to work, her colleagues greeting her with hugs. Keisha joined a youth empowerment program, while Amara found solace in art therapy. LaToya upgraded her home security, adding alarms and a guard dog, and took self-defense classes, teaching her daughters basic techniques. The case had national ripples. In 2024, Mississippi lawmakers debated strengthening protections for domestic violence victims, citing LaToya's story. Advocacy groups used it to push for better police training on responding to harassment complaints. A documentary, Surviving the Night, aired on PBS in 2025, detailing her ordeal and its aftermath, earning critical acclaim. To understand LaToya's strength, consider her past. Her stepfather's abuse taught her resilience. She ran away at 16, living in a shelter until she got her GED. Nursing school was her lifeline, funded by scholarships and late-night diner shifts. Her job exposed her to trauma, gunshot victims, overdose cases, but also hone her calm under pressure. Boone's crew had targeted her deliberately. Months earlier, she'd caught Kessler loitering near her property and warned him off. Boone saw her defiance as a challenge, believing a single mother would fold. Their mistake was underestimating her. The night's timeline was pieced together by police reports. The men entered at 11:03 p.m. per camera timestamps. Threats escalated by midnight, with Boone demanding she sign a fake lease. LaToya's bathroom break came at 4:47 a.m., her 911 call at 5:20 a.m. Community reactions varied. Black residents rallied, organizing fundraisers. Some white neighbors whispered about vigilante justice, but most condemned the men's actions. The church became a hub, hosting forums on safety. LaToya's faith guided her. A devout Baptist, she prayed during the ordeal, finding strength in Psalms. Post-incident, she leaned on her pastor, who counseled her through guilt over taking lives. The men's backgrounds explained their desperation. Boone, once a promising athlete, fell into drugs after knee injury. Dunn, abused as a child, followed Boone blindly. Kessler's addiction drove his crimes, his rap sheet including armed robbery. Media coverage was relentless. Local papers ran front-page stories. National outlets like the New York Times analyzed the case's racial and legal implications. Ex-posts ranged from hero mom to murderer, reflecting America's divide. Powell's legal strategy was airtight, emphasizing the footage in LaToya's clean record. She prepared her for hostile questions, knowing prosecutors would scrutinize her intent. The police department's failures were exposed. Officers admitted ignoring LaToya's calls due to workload and bias toward known criminals like Boone. Reforms followed: a new complaint system, mandatory response protocols. LaToya's daughters became her focus. She enrolled them in a private school with scholarship funds, ensuring stability. Keisha, inspired by her mom, wanted to become a lawyer. By 2025, LaToya was a reluctant icon. She declined most interviews but spoke at a women's conference, urging others to trust their instincts. Her story inspired survivors nationwide, with letters pouring in from women who'd faced similar threats. The case's legacy was complex. It highlighted self-defense rights, but also police negligence and racial disparities. Ellsville became a case study in community healing, with mixed-race coalitions forming to address crime. LaToya never saw herself as a hero, just a mother. Her final reflection, shared with her pastor, was simple: "I survived for my girls." Her actions, born of necessity, reshaped a town and a conversation.